Hey everybody, welcome back, and we are continuing our playthrough of the Steve Jackson classic game OGRE. I really wasn't sure if I was going to actually continue this this gameplay. Pretty much because the last video I did covered pretty much most of the gameplay mechanics and how most of the game works. Now, granted, we weren't getting into GV and with the terrain, different types of terrain, cruise missiles, and stuff like that. So I thought I would just go ahead and actually continue play through a couple more turns, because there was a couple more mechanics I kind of wanted to go over that are kind of core to OGRE, and give everybody a chance to really see what those mechanics are. So this may be our last gameplay through of the base OGRE. I may in the future, depending on feedback, break out a GEV scenario. We'll see. I don't know. As I keep saying, I'm not a professional. I kind of do this on the fly. So anyways, back to the OGRE turn. And disabled units. There are no disabled units because no OGRE never is disabled. So there is no recovery, so it goes into movement. And our OGRE still has 3 movement points, even though it has taken, as we can see, it has taken some tread damage. But it's still at 3 tracks. So we're got to remember it's in the front hex here. So we're gonna go 1 right over that ridge, because you got to remember OGREs are not affected by moving over ridges. So that's 1, and 2. We're gonna slam right into that heavy tank. Now that's a ram. Rams are real easy to figure out. First off, when an OGRE rams a tank or a heavy tank, it just does 2 track damage. So you see, you mark the 2 track damage on there, and the heavy tank has to roll a 6-sided dice. I think it's on a 1 through 3 it's destroyed, 4, 5, or 6 it's not. So let's just go ahead and roll and see what happens. Okay, 4, 5, 6, not destroyed. So I have 1 movement point. I can actually expend another movement point in this hex, which we're going to do to ram it again, which will actually be 2 more track damage to the OGRE. And mark that on our little card. And this time we get, what is it? You'd think I'd remember. Okay, that's a 1. Okay, got it that time. Destroyed it that time. Ran over the poor little tank. Unfortunately, cost 4 track units to do. So now we've got shooting. Let's go ahead and start off with our anti-personnel, because they've only got a range of 1 and they can only affect infantry anyways. And since there's only 1 infantry unit in range, right here, it's going to be all 8 anti-personnel factors against it, against the defense of 2, so it's going to be a 4-to-1 odds. And let's see what we did. I can't find a good place for the cup. Okay, we got another 1 on 4-to-1. Look at the chart. And that is a disrupted effect. Probably the best effect that they could have hoped for. So those guys are actually disrupted, and I do not have my disrupted counters all out. They are buried someplace. All right, so you know what? We're just going to turn these guys sideways to mark that they're disrupted. All right, we got our 2 missiles still. We're not going to fire our 2 missiles. We got 4 secondary batteries. First of all, well, let's go ahead and fire a secondary battery at the heavy tank. That's an attack of 3 versus defense of 3, so it's a 1-to-1. We got a 3, which is a D result. So I'll go ahead and flip it over to its disabled side. Let's put another shot into it at 1-to-1 odds. That is a 1. That's nothing. Let's put another shot into it. Nothing. That's kind of the nice thing about OGRE. You can go through and find out what the shots are before you go on to the next one. So the final one, yeah, let's go ahead and put the final one into it as well. 5. There we go. That's a flat out destroyed. All right, so that heavy tank is gone. And we've still got the 1 main battery, which has got a range of 3. So I think we're going to go ahead and go after this GV up here, because that's 1, 2, 3 hexes. And its attack is 4. So 4 to defensive 2 is a 2-to-1 odds. is a 6, which destroys that GEV as well. I wish I could say that this would seem like it's heavy casualties that the ogre is inflicting, but this is kind of standard. So that's all the shooting of everything. Then we'd go on to secondary movement phase, but the ogre doesn't have any GEVs with it, so it doesn't have any secondary movement phase. Flip over to the normal, or not the normal, the defender side. Okay, now we have recovery. We do have infantry that is recovered, or needs to be recovered. All the player units which were disabled before the last enemy turn. Okay, so it's going to have to be one full turn that they're disabled, so they're not going to be able to come back yet. So we got movement, so let's go ahead and start moving. Infantry is going to be all over the place. And then we got the GVs back here, which are kind of playing Taylor and Charlie. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's make sure I'm within range. No. 4, 3. 3. Ooh, crap. I can't stack. Oh, well, he'll move there then. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I kind of messed up with them. Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3. I could go this way. So yeah, I would actually end up over here instead. Never mind. I'm an idiot sometimes. I can take my moves back. I'm playing versus myself. That's perfectly legal for me to do that. So we got a bunch of units surrounding the ogre, and let's go ahead and start off with the GVs. We've got 1, 2. 2 GEVs? Yes, 2 GEVs. They're going to fire at the tracks. They seem to be liking firing at the tracks. So we got 2 attacks at 1-to-1, and each one of them will do 2 track damage. So we got a 3, which is a nothing, and then the other GEV, 3, which is nothing. All right, the infantry. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 infantry, and you know what? I think all the infantry are going to blast away at the tracks as well. So let's go ahead and start off, or actually 3 infantry because he's disrupted. All right, so we'll go start with that one. That's a 5. Okay, so that is a hit, and that'll do a number of damage equal to its damage rating. Since it's the 3-step squad, it's going to end up doing 3 points of damage. Now, we've hit the threshold for the new movement, so now the ogre's movement is reduced to 2. You know what? That's actually pretty good. I think the other 2 infantries, which are D2s, I think they're going to go after. You know what? They're going to go after anti-personnel, because there's lots of infantry around there, and we don't want to catch a lot of anti-personnel fire. So the anti-personnel is defensive 1, so it's going to be 2-to-1 odds. So the first one is a 2, which is going to be nothing versus the ogre, and the second one is going to be a 2, which is nothing against the ogre. Great. My lovely dice rolls. All right, pretty much the only thing we got left is this heavy tank right here at a combat value of 4. It is going to go after the main battery. So we got a 1-to-1 odd. So maybe we can knock out that big, nasty main battery. 1-to-1 to nothing. All right. Second GE or combat's over, so now we have secondary movement, which would be the GEVs. So you know what? Let's go ahead 1, 2. Now let's just back them off 1 hex. Yeah, because since the ogre's going to be moving slower. So, yeah, that's basically what I kind of wanted to show you. I wanted to kind of show you ramming and moving over the ridge lines real quick. And of course, you know, we still got all these units back here that can, you know, probably going to be forming kind of at the last defensive line. But that's Ogre. That's the gameplay in a nutshell. I got nothing else. Like I said, maybe I'll break out GV in the future. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. All depends on what y'all say. I know there's one of my viewers out there who really likes my Ogre videos, so we might pull out GV in the future. So subscribe. You know you want to. You know I appreciate it. Questions, comments, feedbacks, complaints, concerns. I listen to them all. I'll talk to everybody later. See ya.